live about 30 seconds ago, but I pressed the wrong button and cut the stream off. So anybody who was watching on the previous window, I apologise profusely, if that's even in fact a word. I am here. I'm just going to set this thing up to make sure that all is working and that I'm in fact here. So how are you? We're out of October now, so that's interesting. We're now in November. How did your? If I'm looking like I'm looking in a different direction, it's because I'm using my iPad to stream, and so I'm not quite sure where the camera is on an actual iPad. I'm just playing around with the audio slightly to make sure that you can in fact hear me. I'm sure probably there is a benefit to not hearing me. I will be with you in a second. There we go. My audio is now working, so that is good. Nobody's watching yet, but I am okay with that. Yeah, as I was saying, we're now out of Shocktober. I hope everybody's watched lots and lots of horror films. I ended up watching 31. I think I managed to do the one. I'm trying to work out where the camera is actually, so I can at least look at it. So if I'm going to look at this dot. So if I look like I'm a bit weirdly visioned, that's what it is. I managed one a day on Shocktober. I've done a previous couple of podcasts this month, and I've rattled through what I've watched. What I am going to do is just give you a quick rundown of the films that I in fact did watch this Shocktober. All in all, it was a good month. I'm glad it's not a Shocktober year, because I was getting a little bit tired out of watching horror films. I do like horror films, but there's a certain, God, can I not just watch a comedy or an action film or a documentary or a drama or an animated film or something that does come into play when you get around halfway through the month, and you're like, God, I'm kind of sick of violence, gore and death and tension. So I have all admiration in the world for Chris and Lydia, who do manage to watch like probably far more horror films than I do, or Stu Miller, who also watches a ton. I'm wearing my Texas Chainsaw Massacre t-shirt, so, you know. I also have noticed because of my iPad, the image is reversed, so I need to somehow work out how to play around with that. I obviously don't want to screw around with it on the live stream, because I might end up cutting you all off, and that's not good. So I will work on that for next time. So it looks like I'm in a bit of a mirror universe. I am in fact not in a mirror universe. I've just not tweaked a setting somewhere on my iPad, but I did find that setting on my phone, so there we go. Shout out to all the audio listeners. I sort of dropped a clanger last month where I realised I hadn't uploaded a podcast for like a couple of weeks, so it might even been longer than a couple of weeks. I did play catch up, and so you got 2 episodes last week, so forgive me, I am now on the case. I don't like neglecting the audio listeners, but I have been sort of playing around with this whole YouTube thing, trying to work out the best way to make it work. And, you know, a few speed bumps along the way, but all is good, and, you know, it's fine. But anyway, let's get Shocktober out of the way, because we're now into the 2nd of November. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown and probably a quick, is it recommended, is it not recommended, thing of the films I've watched. And yeah, started off watching Halloween, the latest film by Shogun Films, which I describe as The Purge with killer clowns. I do stand by that. Some of the advertising have described it as the British Terrifier. I've not seen Terrifier. I don't think it is Terrifier. I think Terrifier is quite gory. Halloween is not. Halloween is more Purge-like, and by that I mean the first Purge movie, the Ethan Hawke starring one. It's really good. I've seen it 3 times now. There's been some screenings over the past couple of days, big screens. So there was one in Romford. So to see that film on the big screen, I bet was pretty impressive. It is out on Blu-ray here in the UK, and it's out on digital pretty much everywhere else. So I do recommend it. It's 80 minutes. It's fun. It's well put together. It's well acted. It loves the genre that it's part of. What's not to love? So then I went into When Evil Lurks, which is the Argentinian film. Kind of like it's a possession movie, but it's also a bit like the Rage virus from 28 Days Later. Absolutely bonkers film. Bonkers film. I absolutely love it. I've seen it, I think, twice now. I've seen it, and I enjoyed it just as much the second time as I did the first time. Next up is The Entity from 1982, which is based on a true story about a woman that is pursued by a poltergeist. Sounds bonkers, but the film takes itself like it's serious, and isn't like a hokey sort of, hey, she's been chased by a ghost. It's pretty brutal. Certainly brutal for 1982. It fits in with films like The Changeling and The Omen to a certain extent, the Amityville Horror. So The Entity is kind of like that. So it's thumbs up for that one. A little bit dated by the soundtrack, but it's fine. Run, which is a Netflix one. So for those of you who have Netflix, you can check out Run. Run is a film that is about a. I'm going to try and avoid any sort of spoilers for anything. Run is about a girl who is wheelchair bound, and she starts to suspect that her mum might be, let's just say, helping things along, and might be a little bit cuckoo. Really good film. Check out Run on Netflix. Then I went on to Dangerous Animals, which is a Jai Courtney serial killer who feeds his victims to sharks. Love a good shark movie. Best thing I've seen Jai Courtney in. Suicide Squad he was good in as well. But yeah, Dangerous Animals. Do check that out if you like shark movies and you like serial killer movies. Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, which was a screener disc that I got. I liked it. I'm not a bit hit and miss with the Texas Chainsaw franchise. I love the original, the Toby Hooper one. It is fantastic. The second movie, I'm not a huge fan of. Its style shift is just bonkers. It's still fun. Got Bill Moseley in there. It's a crazy, crazy film. I didn't mind the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre from a few years ago. I enjoyed that. Now we got a prequel to that, Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, which is super gory. Obviously, well, not obviously, because the Toby Hooper one wasn't crazy gory. Didn't need to be, but it's still pretty terrifying. But all in all, I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning is fine if you like your gore, if you like people being chased through the woods and doing dumbass things. Horror logic is a phrase that will pop up quite a bit. I think it was Midnight Social who pops up in the chat now and again. Came up with the horror logic where just people in horror movies are just dumbasses sometimes. And so there's lots of horror logic where you're like, why would you do that? So Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, good film. Bring Her Back, which is from the same guys who did Talk to Me. Bring Her Back. Sally Hawkins is a foster mom who takes in a couple of kids. It's got Sally Hawkins in it, so you know her character's going to be batshit crazy. And yes, she's batshit crazy. Bring Her Back, excellent film. One of the best horror films I've seen this year. I've seen a few new watches. I haven't seen everything. There's still a few that I do need to catch up on, but Bring Her Back is pretty good. Then jumped back to 1986. I did try with Shocktober to sort of mix all these things up and do some rewatches and some old films and some new films, because I didn't want to burn myself out on the same type of horror movie for a full month. So Henry: Portrait of a Serial Killer, which is a film that I saw, I think, in the 1990s on VHS, probably a cut version because it was for a while. Now I've seen the uncut version. Best thing about that film is Michael Rooker's performance. I think he is great as Henry. The film itself, I think, is fine. It was very impactful when it came out. I remember the media going a bit, getting a bit twitchy over that in '86 when it came out. And then when it got its home release on VHS, it is still pretty brutal nowadays, but it looks like a film that was shot in 1986, so that maybe lessens its impact a little bit. But it's still worth checking out if you've not seen it and you want to watch a bit of horror history. Next one up is Phantom of the Opera from 1943. Told you I was going to bounce around here, there, and everywhere. I thought I'd seen this one, and it turns out I hadn't. So I've got a box set behind me, that one, which is a Universal Monsters box set. It's got all things like Dracula and Frankenstein and The Bride of Frankenstein and stuff in it. And one of the titles that was in there is Phantom of the Opera. Now I thought I'd watched it, and it hadn't. So I'm like, let's put this on and I can watch something a little less gory than some of the stuff we've watched already in Shocktober. And so put it on. I'm like, oh, it's in colour. I'm sure this film was in black and white. It turns out I hadn't seen Phantom of the Opera. I'd seen a previous version of Phantom of the Opera, which I think is from like the 1920s. Um, and I'd never watched it. So I sat and watched the film. Obviously, it was a nice, easy film to watch in Shocktober. It's not filled with blood, gore, and crazy jump scares and stuff. It's a 1940s horror film. But I'm glad I watched it, even though I thought I'd seen it before. So after Phantom of the Opera, we sort of upped our game the following night and watched the new James DeMonaco film, The Home, which the basic premise of that is you've got a guy who is in trouble with the law and he's got a choice: either go to jail, just petty crimes, not like a killer or anything. Petty crimes, go to jail, or go work in this retirement home and help the patients out who kind of need help. So he opts for that, and he goes to live in this retirement home. And he's given a set of rules. It's like, you can go wherever you want, do whatever you want to do. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Just don't go to the fourth floor. Don't go to floor number 4. And of course, horror logic. I keep midnight social. Horror logic pops into place, and he goes to the fourth floor and he uncovers weird stuff that's happening in this home, and then that's where your plot carries on. Really good film. Recognizable faces in there include John Glover, who is pretty much great in everything. I know him mostly from Smallville and Gremlins 2, The New Batch. So check out The Home. The next film we watched was The Night House, which is on Disney Plus here in the UK, so I'm guessing probably Hulu anywhere else. Weird film, very, very weird film. Um, Woman, her husband takes himself out into the lake and shoots himself in the face and dies. This happened before the film starts. This is where the trauma for this woman's kicking in. She starts to see weird things going on in her house, becomes obsessed with this house that's across the lake, and that kind of looks a bit like her house. Very strange film, enjoyable, weird, easy to watch. So check out The Night House. Then we went into the film. So we watched one a day, basically. We made sure that each night we watched a horror film. I didn't want to just. Karen Woodham from Blazing Minds, she probably watched like 90 odd films in a month. It's like, I can't. I don't know what you guys and girls are like, but I can't watch that many films anymore. I think my limit's probably 3 if I spaced them out a few hours apart. But I made sure I watched at least one a day. So I watched Hollow Road, which Matthew Rhys and Rosamund Pike, is it Rosamund Pike or Rebecca Ferguson? For some reason I've got them two mixed up. I think it's Rosamund Pike. And it's all set in a car. Primarily it's all set in a car where these are parents to this girl. The girl phones up going, Mom, Dad, I've run somebody over. And so these parents get in their car, hightail it to where this girl is. And so it's all played out over phone conversations. Interesting film. It went off on a tangent, and when it hit that tangent, that's when I kind of like, yeah, I'm not a fan of the film anymore. But I know some people that watched it that really, really liked the ending or the last act. I personally didn't, because it didn't make any sense. And we ended up Googling it to find out what the end was. And then when we saw what the endings were, we're like, that still doesn't make any sense. So that's fine. Not every film is for everybody. But I liked Hollow Road up to a point, and then I didn't. Next up was Vicious, which is on Paramount Plus. This stars Dakota Fanning. Dakota Fanning answers a knock at her door. There is an old woman there going, "Oh, my car's broke down. Can I come in your house, please?" Horror logic prevails, and Dakota lets the woman in, and crazy, weird stuff happens from that. Kind of like the film The Box, the Richard Kelly one. It is a film that has a lot of moments that you will scratch your head at and go, okay, I'm not quite sure why anybody would do that, or that makes no sense. But it's horror logic. Told you I'd be using the phrase horror logic. I probably have to pay Midnight Social a couple of pennies or cents each time I use that phrase, but I will be using it a lot. So Vicious is good. It's still weird seeing Dakota Fanning as an adult because I'm so used to seeing her in like I Am Sam and Man on Fire. So it's like I've not seen that many films with the adult Dakota Fanning in. I've obviously seen Equalizer 3, which she was in. She's a great actor. Next up, His House, which is on Netflix. This was a film I'd seen before. It was a creepy house movie where two refugees from Sudan, I believe they are from, come over to the UK. They are given a house. It's not a great looking house. It was wrecked pretty much. It's in an area where everybody just looks at these new people with disgust. So straight off the bat, you're kind of uncomfortable for these two people that have shown up in the house. And it's a horror movie, and weird stuff starts happening in the house. So very, very creepy haunted house movie. It's really good. I enjoyed it more the second time because it made more sense, but it is worth checking out. Next up, nostalgia time. So I went through three that I'd seen before. Friday the 13th Part 2. So that is the one before Jason gets his hockey mask. But this is the first one where we properly meet Jason Voorhees. So this is the one when he's got the sack on the head. Entertaining enough. I enjoyed it. The Friday the 13th films are what they are. They take a bunch of kids who probably look about 30, throw them in a camp somewhere, and then Jason starts picking them off one by one in weird and wonderful ways. That's kind of all you need from the Friday the 13th movies, to be fair. But it's been nice revisiting those. Next one up was from 1997, Event Horizon. That was a rewatch for me. It was a new film for Annette to watch. I neglected to tell her that this film has often been said to be Hellraiser in space. Hellraiser is a film that petrifies her, even to this day, because it was one of the first horror movies that she ever watched. So I thought, if I tell her it's Hellraiser in space, I'm likely to get punched in the throat. And I want to watch Event Horizon. So we watched it, and she liked it, and then I think at some point in the film she went, "It's very Hellraisery, this, isn't it?" And like, whew, I haven't been punched in the throat. All is good. Sam Neill, Lawrence Fishburne, Jason Isaacs, Sean Pertwee. Um, I once had the experience of standing in a toilet weeing next to Sean Pertwee, not weeing on him, but weeing next to him. But that's a whole nother story. Next film, The Sadness, which is a Taiwanese film. I have a list of the films that I've watched behind me, but I don't have all the stuff about the film, so if I do make the odd mistake, don't shoot me. 2021, set during a sort of pandemic-y type thing. It is about the Alvin virus, which is a bit like a rage virus, so kind of like When Evil Lurks. Batshit crazy film. Gives you about 15 minutes of the movie to sort of settle in and just experience the world that these characters are in, and then the touch paper gets lit around 15 minutes, and then you're up and running, and you're just gonna get just sheer insanity, gore scenes you've never seen, or certainly gore scenes that I've never seen outside of any film than this. The Sadness is a great film, not for the weak stomached, but if you like things like Train to Busan, 28 Days Later, even there's an Owen Wilson film, I can't remember what it's called, is it No Escape, where that's another one, where it's just like the plot just very quickly starts, and then you're up and running, and then poof, absolute sheer insanity. No Escape is great. I think it's called No Escape anyway. So next one up was Piggy, which is a Spanish film from 2022. This was shot at Fright Fest or Grimfest at some point. I missed it. Piggy is about a girl who is bullied and picked on by her schoolmates. She is called Piggy because she's not a skinny person. Um, and it's not so much. I went into it thinking it's going to be a film where she picks off the bullies a la Death Wish or Miss 45. But it's kind of not. It's different, but it's a good movie. So I would check out Piggy. It is subtitled, so for those of you who have got to be in the mood for a subtitled film, put yourself in the mood for a subtitled film and do check out Piggy. Next one, I am gonna double these up. Even though we watched them on separate days, we watched The Strangers Chapter 1 and The Strangers Chapter 2, which are the new Strangers films by Rennie Harlin. They get bashed on the internet, but then again, doesn't everything? They kind of get hammered, but they are what they are. They're fine. I like them. They're predictable, filled with horror logic. Hey, I'm gonna get chased and run upstairs into the attic, or I'm gonna hide in the basement. You know, that stupid sort of horror logic. The Strangers Chapter 1 is better than Strangers Chapter 2, although Chapter 2 does follow on directly from Chapter 1. So when Chapter 3 comes out, which I'm guessing will be next year, then as a trilogy, it'll probably just work as a nice long 4 hour movie or 4.5 hour movie or whatever it is. But I enjoyed The Strangers. And The Strangers Chapter 2 I didn't think was bad. It was just, an hour and a half's worth of watching people being chased around houses and, having knives thrown at them and being shot at and all that sort of stuff. It's typical. It's no worse than a Friday the 13th movie, in my opinion. So another couple of films that I will double up. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, and Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master from 87 and 88 respectively. These were two rewatches for me. These were first time viewings for Annette. I really like number 3. I like number 4, but number 3 is, I think, after the first A Nightmare on Elm Street film. I think number 3 is probably my favourite. Yes, Freddy's a little bit more hokey and a little bit more welcome to prime time, bitch, all that sort of stuff, a little bit more tongue in cheek. But it's fine. It is exactly what it is. It's just nice to go back and watch some of these 80s things. Still fun. Then we watched, we're back to 2025 films now, The Long Walk, which is the Francis Lawrence film based on is it a Bachman book or is it a Stephen King book? I think it's a Bachman, but I might be wrong. The whole premise of that is each year there is a lottery where you can apply, and it is teenage boys or young boys who all have to walk, and the one who is still walking at the very end wins the ultimate prize. I don't, what would your ultimate prize be? Who knows? What would mine be? I don't know. Not talking itchy nose every time I'm podcasting for some reason. And if you slow down below 3 miles an hour on this walk, you get a warning. If you slow down again, you get another warning. If you slow down again, and bullets to head springs to mind. So there is a lot of that going on. I really, really liked The Long Walk. I think Cooper Hoffman in the main role is great. It is very, I don't want to say it's very Hunger Gamesy, but you could look at the film and go, who do you think directed this? And you could probably go, is it the guy that did the Hunger Games movie? Because it has that feel to it, based on the book. It is very similar to the book. Apparently the ending is different though. I know what the ending of the book is. I prefer the ending the film has. So, I don't know whether everybody will or not, but I do prefer that one. So do check out The Long Walk. It is currently sitting in my favourite 10 films of the year. Whether it'll be there in a couple of months, who knows, but it's in there now. So that's good. The next one was from the year 2000, I think it was, Ginger Snaps, the werewolf movie. It is a trilogy of films. I opted not to go back and watch number two, number three. I've seen them all. I remember number two being pretty good, but not as good as the first one. Third one, I don't think I liked because I think, if I remember rightly enough, the third one goes prequel and goes back to like 1800s or 1700s or something. It's like, not a massive fan of prequels generally. But Ginger Snaps is a good film. Um, Werewolf film. The two women in the leads are great, very sort of gothy and miserably, and it's lots of high school angst and all that sort of stuff. And then you chuck in some lichen, bloodshed, and that's pretty much what you've got. So Ginger Snaps was around the time of things like Idle Hands and The Faculty, and post Scream, where there was loads of these urban legend and all these sort of um, all these horror movies that came out. They were like, right, we need to set them in high school. We need to get the kids into the movie theaters. So Ginger Snaps was one of those, but it's really, really good. Next film was, I've forgotten what year it was, but it's a Nicholas Winding Refn movie, The Neon Demon, which is a film I really, really liked. Well, I thought I did, but then having rewatched it again, the first half of it I think is really, really good, and then the second half's just like, what even is happening in this film? It's very, very weird. I was chatting with Stu Miller about this film last week on the previous podcast, and Stu Miller was like, Nicholas Winding Refn is a one-trick pony. He was, Drive is a great film. Love the movie Drive, but everything other than that, is not very good. I would probably not agree with that. I don't agree with Stu Miller in a lot of things, but that's fine. I think the Pusher trilogy, I think, are really, really good. So that's the early stuff by Nicholas Winding Refn. I think they're definitely worth watching. But the Neon Demon, I was watching it thinking, I love the soundtrack. And is this film going to go in my 250 of all time favourite movies? And then having rewatched it last week, and the second half of the film being a bit, well, not being a bit, being a lot weird and batshit crazy. No, I don't think it will go in my 250 films, unfortunately. Next one is a film that I love, it's a film that Annette loves, and it's a rewatch for me. It is Hannibal, the technically the third in the Hannibal Lecter movies, because obviously we had Manhunter, then we got Silence of the Lambs, then we get Hannibal, then Manhunter gets remade as Red Dragon, and all that sort of weird, confusing stuff. I love Hannibal. I do prefer it to Silence of the Lambs. I love Silence of the Lambs, and Silent Lambs works very well as a thriller slash horror. But there's something so beautiful and stunning about the way that Hannibal is shot in Ridley Scott's film. The music by Hans Zimmer, the setting in Florence, and I think it looks far more cinematic to me than Silence of the Lambs. But I do love Silence of the Lambs. I haven't seen it for years, but I did enjoy going back and watching Hannibal. This next film is a rewatch for me. It's a film I've not seen for probably 30 years, and it stars Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin, and is The Good Son. Now, I remember around the time I was working in a video store, around the time that this film was due to come out, and this was, here in the UK, it was post Child's Play 3, and there was a lot of media craziness about movies are making children into psychopaths, and we need to ban all movies, and there was a whole crazy censorship thing that was around in the early 90s here in the UK, with things like Reservoir Dogs, which struggled to get a release for a little while. Natural Born Killers, the Oliver Stone film, was due to come out on home release, but was then pulled for like, it feels like it was probably about a year, but it was probably only a bunch of months. But I remember working in the video store, and we got all the point of sale stuff through for Natural Born Killers, and we got these huge window stickers that you would peel off and you would stick in the window, and it was Woody Harrelson's head. I really wish that I kept one of those. So we got all of the posters and everything, but then the film got pulled, and it didn't come out until what feels like quite a while later. I really, really wish I'd have kept some of those posters. Could you imagine this space that I'm in now with like loads of video posters and stuff. The amount of posters I threw out, because bearing in mind I worked in the video shop from 92 right up to 2003, so you can imagine the films of the posters I could get. So Reservoir Dogs, Shopping, Pulp Fiction, Titanic, Star Wars prequels, all this sort of stuff. My God, and we would just throw these posters out because well, we don't need them anymore. We'd chuck them. Oh my God! If I get a time machine, I'm going back and I'm reading all those posters. Um, so yeah, the film that we watched was when this was one of the films, The Good Son, where Elijah Wood, he loses his mum, his dad, played by the wonderful David Morse. Huge fan of David Morse. He has to go. I don't really say where he's going. I think he's off on a business trip, and he has to go off on a business trip, and then he doesn't have to leave again because it's a really important business deal. I think it's like Japan or something. And so David Morse leaves his son with his brother and his brother's wife and his nephew, played by Macaulay Culkin, just a couple of weeks. And Macaulay Culkin is he's crazy. He's sort of, to say he's a bad influence on the Elijah Wood character would be an understatement, but it was definitely a shift for Macaulay Culkin, having played like roles in Home Alone and Richie Rich and stuff like that. So that film was delayed for quite a bit. I don't know how long. A few months, I suspect, because this was around the time of the whole Reservoir Dogs, Bad Lieutenant, all this sort of kerfuffle. But it's a good film. It still holds up. It's borderline horror. I suppose you can sandwich it in as a horror film, but it's more psychological thriller. If you ask me to really pigeonhole it into some of these, some of the films we watched in Shocktober, we kind of had to find a technicality to class it as a horror movie, and I think The Good Son is probably one of those. Although to be fair, you got children being violent and trying to kill people, so it's a horror film, isn't it? Pretty horrific. So went back to Friday the 13th. We'd watched part two. We then jumped into part three, which was originally released in 3D back in 82, I think it was. Same year as Jaws 3D. And so in Friday the 13th part three, there was a lot of hokey stuff. There was a lot of, you know, this things coming out of the camera. There's lots of like, hey, do you need a remote control? Here's the remote control. So there's lots of that 3D gimmicky stuff. I don't mind it, but I think after a while, it kind of gets a bit like, yeah, okay, we get your point. However, if you watch this film back in the cinema, I didn't watch this one at the cinema, but if you watched it back then and you were loving it, I mean, I remember watching Jaws 3D, and I saw that a few times at cinema, and it was amazing. It's a little bit ropey now, but I loved it. Shark things coming out, and brilliant. It's what 3D was meant to be. None of this immersive stuff, just throw stuff out of the audience and make them spill their popcorn. Friday the 13th, part three, is the one where Jason finally gets his hockey mask. He steals it off one of his victims, and that is where the proper Jason Voorhees is born. So I enjoyed watching that one. Very nearly at the end of Shocktober list, guys and girls. So thank you very much for sticking around for this one. How long has this taken? About 35 minutes to get through this list. The next one is House 3, which is also called the horror scene in some territories. Now, I have a bunch of screener discs which had been sent over the years, and most of them I do watch, but sometimes there was a point when I would get so many of them, oh, woe is me, I would get so many of them that some of them I just wouldn't find time to watch because, you know, I need to sleep and stuff. And I remember getting the whole box set of the House films, I think it was like 4 discs, and I'd watched most of them, and I'd checked out what extras were on which, and so on and so on. But I've not actually watched the whole film. We're going to have a cameo by my cat here in a second. Oscar the cat. Come on, Oscar. There we go. Oscar is very, very glad that Shocktober is over, because poor old Oscar, whilst we didn't subject him to watch all these horror films, he did listen to them a lot. So he heard a lot of things that his little young ears should not have watched. So he's very, very glad that Shocktober's over, aren't you, Oscar? And I'm now going to put him on his bed and he can keep me company whilst I record. So, yes, House 3, the horror scene. Stars Lance Henriksen. Um, it feels like it was a movie that was done and then somehow rebranded as a House 3, which would explain the horror scene credits on the version I watched. It's a good film. It's not as good as House 1 or House 2, the second story, I think that one was called. And I haven't yet seen House 4, but I do have that. I'll probably watch that next October. But House 3 was good. I like Lance Henriksen anyway. And so that was fun to watch. Final 2, Wes Craven's New Nightmare from 1994, I believe it was from. Very clever film. I mean, nowadays people are doing the whole meta thing, but that was, I'm not saying it was the first meta movie to come out, but it was certainly one of the early ones. Wes Craven's in it playing Wes Craven. Heather Langenkamp's in it playing Heather Langenkamp. John Saxon's in it playing John Saxon. And it's sort of set in a world where Freddy Krueger starts to come out into the real world and terrorize Heather Langenkamp, who really doesn't want to make any more Nightmare on Elm Street films, but ends up sort of getting dragged into that world. Robert Englund plays himself, Robert Englund, and also plays Freddy Krueger. If there is one thing about the Elm Street films, I mean, they're sort of hit and miss. They're more hit than miss. They are what they are, but the makeup it seems to get progressively worse as the films go on. And even in Wes Craven's New Nightmares, some of the makeup looked pretty bad. But the film itself is very clever. It's great to just see anything of Wes Craven, whether it's him directing or whether it's him just playing himself. So he's definitely a guy that is missed. And then the final one, we had to sort of decide what the final movie would be for the Halloween month. And obviously the instinct would be to go for John Carpenter's Halloween because it's Halloween. But we didn't. Annette said, "Can I put a request in?" I'm like, "Of course you can." And she'd not seen the Mike Flanagan film Doctor Sleep since it came out. I think she'd only seen it once. So I tracked down not the theatrical version, the director's cut version, rather than the theatrical version. So the theatrical one is around 2 hours and 20 minutes long, which is fine. That's quite a lengthy film anyway. But then the director's cut is 3 hours, 3 hours and 1 minute if you want to be really accurate. But it's 3 hours and 1 minute long, and so why would you not go for that version? I'm watching it, and it's a great film. Stars Ewan McGregor, Carl Lumley as Dick O'Halloran, and Rebecca Ferguson, who'd already had a mention, probably accidentally got mentioned previously. And it is the follow-up to The Shining. Now it works, it's based on the book by Stephen King. It works really, really well, and this is a testament to Mike Flanagan. So it's out there that Stephen King himself hates or doesn't like at all the Stanley Kubrick The Shining. I think The Shining is a great film, but apparently it's not a great adaptation of the book The Shining. But like Running Man. Running Man's a great film, not a good adaptation of the book. So Stephen King isn't a fan of that movie, but a lot of people love it, rightly so. The Kubrick one is a great film. It's not a great adaptation. A better adaptation is the 1997, I think it is, McGarris TV miniseries, Stephen King's The Shining, which has so much more in it than the Kubrick film and is more faithful to the book. Now, what Mike Flanagan's done is this Doctor Sleep movie is a great sequel to not only the Kubrick film, but also the Stephen King book. So to sort of tightrope along that and come out with something that is workable and really good is amazing. And the 3 hours just flew by. It works. It does make you want to go back and watch The Shining again, which I may do at some point. I'll probably go back and rewatch The Shining. Just not at the minute because I'm kind of all a little bit burned out with horror. There's still a lot that I didn't get through. I didn't watch a lot of my favourites like Night of the Living Dead. I didn't touch any of the Dollman movies, which I've got behind me. There we go. I'm sort of mirroring my camera here. So there's a lot that I've got to get round to watching. But, you know, I'll do that in December. Get rid of Christmas movies. I'm not a huge Christmas fan anyway. So I may just catch up on some horror movies. I'm really looking forward to things like House of Dynamite, which dropped on streaming in October. I was looking forward to the Martin Kemp starring Doctor Plague, but that's been bumped till January, so that will go into my New Year list. I still haven't seen things like Happy Gilmore too. I don't know how people keep up with films nowadays. I really don't. I remember as a kid, way back in the dark times, where in your house you would have like a small amount of TV channels that didn't always show films, so there weren't movies on all the time. But then there was also your VHS collection, and you probably owned, I don't know, like a dozen films or something, and you would just constantly rewatch these films over and over and over again. I've lost count of how many times I've watched Lethal Weapon or Aliens or something like that. And we just don't do that nowadays, which is a shame. And I realised that because I've got a big shelf downstairs with my top 250 or give or take favourite movies ever. Not the best movies ever, but my favourite movies ever. And I look at some of those and I go, I love that movie. That I wouldn't trade that movie for anything. When was the last time I watched it? I can't remember the last time I watched the first Beverly Hills Cop, but it's a great film. Because we're so snowed under by all this new content constantly coming out that we feel that we have to watch. And maybe that's going to be something I do next year, is going, you know what, I'm just going to watch my own, watch my favourite films. I don't need to watch every single movie that comes out this year unless it really appeals to me. I've seen a lot this year and I have pretty much got my top 10 in place, not in order. Currently, my favourite film of the year so far is still F1 by Joe Kosinski, but there's still a couple of months left for films to come out, so maybe The Running Man will be 2 or Wicked Part 2 or whatever, but F1 is definitely up there. TV wise, Welcome to Derry, so if you've not seen that, it is really good. It's really violent as well. It's like Stranger Things, but better. Oops, and more violent. So its proper name now is It. Welcome to Derry. So they very quickly rebranded it smartly enough because people now go, oh, It. I like it. I'm gonna watch it. It's been on 2 weeks, so new episodes drop on Sundays. But because it was Halloween at the end of October, funnily enough, Halloween was not on Friday the 13th, by the way, so up yours, Facebook. Because it was on Halloween, they dropped the episode number 2 a few days early. So what would be the second episode coming out today, in fact, is already out there. So we've now got another week to wait until episode 3. Really, really good series. Really good. So if you like your things, like your Stranger Things and your basic Stephen King stuff, and you want to know more about it, then check it out. You don't really have to have seen the It movies to watch Welcome to Derry though. So if you don't need to remember them that much, you're probably aware of who Pennywise is. I think most people are aware who Pennywise is. I've seen people cosplaying as Pennywise and they shouldn't be watching Pennywise because they're too young. So I think Pennywise is now out there like Chucky or Freddy or Jason, where people know who they are. You don't have to remember everything about the It franchise in order to go into Welcome to Derry. You can go into it cold, and you'll just be excited by one of the best TV shows this year. The other TV shows that we're watching three more. Only Murders in the Building, which is on Hulu or Disney Plus or Disney Star or whatever. Um, Good series. Steve Martin Short, Selena Gomez, Amy Schumer's in season two. We finished season one during October. We always have a show where it needs to be about half an hour long, and that's what we watch while we're eating our food. So we don't want it to be an hour show. We don't want it to be a 2 hour show. We need it to be a half hour show because that's roughly how long it's taking for us to eat our food. So we'd gone through Schitt's Creek, the entire run of that. Previous to that, we'd gone through Friends, and now we're going through Only Murders in the Building. I enjoyed season one. I'm enjoying season two. I think there's 4 seasons complete, might be 5, but we'll probably finish that like January, something. Probably around January, I think we'll finish those. And then the final show is Tulsa King, which drops new episodes on Sundays on Paramount Plus. I've been a Stallone fan for decades. I've liked most of his films. Not a huge fan of his film Oscar. Cat called Oscar, so I was just seeing if he'd stuck his head up. He didn't. Not a huge fan of Stop or My Mum Will Shoot. But other than that, pretty much a Stallone fan. So it was nice to see him go back to TV. It's one of the Taylor Sheridan shows. Really good. Really, I'm enjoying Tulsa King. It's one of those shows that I could just sit and watch all day long, but I can't because there's not that many episodes. The other TV show I'm watching is, you can see a box set behind me, mirrored, but I am watching on a streaming platform because I only just picked that box set up like last week, and it's The Shield, the Sean Ryan TV show starring Michael Chiklis, Walton Goggins, Kenny Johnson, and a whole bunch of others. I love The Shield. I think it's one of the best cop TV shows. I could binge watch The Shield all day long, but I don't attempt to watch 1 or 2 or 3 episodes per day. So I started that off in October. I am now on the finale of season 3. Still a great show. It's probably the 3rd time I've seen The Shield. I'm still loving it. And I was at a car boot sale, which for those of you in the UK will know exactly what a car boot sale is. For those of you who are not in the UK, a car boot sale is pretty much a yard sale that's usually held in a, you know, well, this one's held in a multi-story car park. So, yeah, wash your hands when you come out type thing. So we went to one of those yard sale, car boot sale type things last week, and somebody was selling the entire collection of the Shield for £8. So it's a fancy box set. I will be doing an unboxing video of that at some point this week. Hopefully, I was hoping to do it last week, but didn't. So I'll be doing that on this channel at some point to just show you what's in that. It's a very fancy set, absolute bargain for £8. And so yeah, I've been rewatching The Shield. I'm just going to carry on and just watch the full run, all 7 seasons of that. And that's it for TV. Video gaming, I picked up After the Fall for the PSVR 2, which is a VR zombie shooter. Haven't yet played it. There's a lot of real life stuff going on where my health's just all over the place at the minute. So I'm not quite up to the sitting there with a VR helmet on and doing stuff, but I'm looking forward to getting it. I think I paid about £4 or £5 for it, which is not bad. Apparently it's just a very basic zombie shooter. It's all I need from a game like that. It's fine. Don't want any complicated stuff. Just let me just have the handsets and shoot stuff. Gran Turismo 7. Haven't really played that in a couple of weeks, so I should really get back into that. My real life story, just it's kind of all over the place at the minute. With and I like to use the analogy of spinning plates. You know, we've seen them where there's like usually magicians or whatever where they have plates spinning, and I think our lives can kind of get like that, where just to give you a mild one. So that's podcast. podcast, spinning plates. Right, YouTube. There's another one. Spinning plates, spinning plates. Right, now I've got this other project to do. There's a third spinning plates. And then the more plates you have spinning, the more likely that they're just going to fall off and you're just going to, end up with broken bits of plate all over the floor. And so I've been a little bit that. So the YouTube channel, I'm concentrating on doing these. I'm trying to get into the habit of doing them every week at 1 o'clock UK time. I then take the audio feed around 24 hours after that and then bump it into the audio podcast so that the audio listeners can listen to it on Spotify or wherever. So I'm getting into that habit and routine because my co-hosts are very busy. John Fouts has been poorly. Hopefully John will be back relatively soon. Stu Miller pops up maybe once, twice a month around this time. So I'm trying to get into the routine of just doing more solo ones and stuff like that. With the disappearance of Skype, it's made it a bit trickier with the technology, which is why, you'll see a lot of shows aren't the same. So one week it'll be vertical, next week it'll be horizontal, and so on. So I'm trying to find that sweet spot that not only works for me, but also works for people watching the video and stuff as well. So that's another spinning plate. Real life stuff, health stuff's been crazy. I'm still with catheter. Oh joy. I've kind of got used to a pipe sticking out of my abdomen. Never thought I'd use that phrase. But then that can be kind of dangerous when you're used to it being there, because that's when you're most likely to bang into a doorknob or something. And I've done that a couple of times and woof, not fun. I thought I was having the thing changed out a couple of weeks back, but then that didn't happen. So now I'm having it swapped out. I have to swap it I originally was told it was 8 weeks, but apparently it's not, because I went in on 8 weeks and they're like, oh no, it can be 10 to 12. So it's going to be swapped out on the 12th week, which would be I think it's like the 11th of November. I'm going in. Now that means they're not knocking me out. They're just going to do a local anaesthetic, deflate the balloon that's in me. Yes, there's an actual balloon filled with saline in me. Deflate that, pull it out, put another one in, reinflate it, and then that's me left for probably another 10 weeks. I'm still waiting to hear about the referral for surgery to have the issue fixed. God knows how long that's going to be. So that's another plate spinning. So there's podcast, YouTube, this, that, and the other. There's loads of plates spinning. So I'm trying to have less spinning plates and more of a sort of relaxed life. Can't remember what a relaxed life feels like, to be fair, but hopefully one will pop up at some point. So I've been busy with that. I have, I think, a backlog of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have a backlog of about 6 unboxing videos to do. It's all stuff I've picked up myself, so it's not like anybody's waiting for an unboxing video. Although if you happen to be out there and you've got like, a Blu-ray or something you want to send me to do an unboxing video, let me know. Hook me up. I'll do it. I'm all for freebies. So at the minute I'm just picking bits and pieces up. I picked a couple of bits and pieces up from the car boot sale this morning, which I'm looking forward to telling the story about those things when I actually do the video. I won't tell you the stories just now. I'm also busy trying to tidy up this backdrop behind me because there's crap everywhere, and tidy these shelves up. So as you can see, I've moved some nice box sets there. I've given the Masters of Horror, Pride of Place, and an Alfred Hitchcock box set there. So I am getting there. I'm just trying to slow down a little bit, I think, which is needed. I think we do need to do that in life. And that is what I'm trying to do. So what am I doing today? Well, probably going to finish this live stream in a few minutes. So if anybody has got any comments, then just leave them, or any questions or any topic suggestions, just leave them when you watch this later on, and I will pick them up for next week's show. Obviously, if you're in audio podcast world, you can email me at from page to screen gmail.com with the same things. I'm probably going to watch like a Disney film. We're working our way through all the classic Disney movies, and so we started off with like Snow White, and then we're currently. I think the next one is Beauty and the Beast, so that'll be the next one that we watch. Which might just sit down and watch that. It's just really nice not to watch a horror film. I love horror movies, but you can kind of burn yourself out a little bit by just watching so many of them, and then you end up putting the added pressure of on yourself when you go, I need to watch one every day. You kind of don't need to watch one every day. You choose to watch one every day. I think so often people mix up the phrase "I'm choosing to" with "I have to." I have to watch a film to review it. I have to review this film. I have to review. You don't have to review anything unless you're being paid like an actual paying job. And even then, you don't have to. Other than that, I'm just going to have a quietish day. I think I'm going to sit down and prep my forthcoming week to see what tasks I need to do. I've got some social media stuff that I want to get done. I've got some typey stuff that I want to get done. But today's Sunday, so I think you know what, I've had a busyish week. I'm just going to sit and chill and just I'm going to do a podcast. Probably like an hour long, which this one is about an hour long, but it's a solo one, so that's why they're slightly shorter. Um, and it's going to be a nice, quiet Sunday afternoon. So, because I've been talking at you, I hope everybody out there is doing well. I hope you're all I hope you've all enjoyed your October doing whatever you're going to do. I hope if you're busy working, that work is being kind to you. I hope you've watched lots of fun movies and that life is treating you well. And if life isn't treating you well, then hopefully life gets better very, very soon for you. So, anybody who has watched this on YouTube, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I would love you to subscribe to the channel. I've been doing a bit of a rebrand on the podcast. This is just for YouTube, where I've just rebranded the name of the podcast. I'm just calling it Movie Talk with, and then whoever the host is. So, for example, this one is rebranded Movie Talk with Stuart. That's me. Whereas if Stu Miller was here, it'd be Movie Talk with Stuart. That's me, and Stu, and so on and so on. I've given everybody a different colour thumbnail with the name on, and because probably some people like these solo ones, some people may hate the solo ones. So what I've done is rebranded them all with the thumbnails so that you can sort of pick and choose which ones you want to listen to, but more importantly, which ones you don't want to listen to, so that we're not wasting any of your time. I am still battling away trying to get my YouTube numbers up. Not so much the subscribers, but just the watch hours. And so I've been playing around with a lot of the playlists and stuff. So if you like toys and collectibles, there is a toys and collectibles playlist. If you like movie reviews, there is a movie review playlist. If you like these podcasts, there is a movie talk playlist. And if you like seeing the Q&A panels I've done, there's an interviews one and so on. I'm just trying to tidy the channel up a little bit, just to make it easier for people to navigate around it. But I'd appreciate if you just see a playlist and go, I'm just going to leave that running while I'm going to go do something, and it helps boost my hours because I'm so close. I'm so close to hitting those monetization hours. The subscribers I'm fine with, but my viewing numbers keep going up and down. Because it's what it is with YouTube, it's a rolling 365 days total. So you need to hit monetization in the first place, you need to have 4,000 hours of viewing in the past 365 days. So let's just say, for example, that a year ago today, you had 1,000 hours. So everyone went crazy and decided to give you 1,000 hours worth of watch time. That's great. But in a year and a day, that 1,000 disappears, so your number goes down. So mine's kind of going up and down like a crazy person. It will inevitably go up, and I'm pretty sure that I will hit that 4,000 hours. I'm very, very close. I'm only like a couple of hundred away from it. Sounds a lot, but when you think I've chatted for an hour, it's pretty much only a couple of hundred people watching this podcast. So playing around a little bit with YouTube advertising as well. I don't have huge funds to be able to play around with that too much, but I'm sort of playing around with which countries work, which countries don't, which days of the week are better than others, and so on and so on. So again, we talked about spinning plates. That's another one. YouTube promotion and adverts. It's crazy. But I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday. If you're listening to this or watching it on a Sunday, if you have to be watching or listening on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, then the same applies. Just take the word Sunday out, just replace it with whatever day of the week it in fact is. Now, what I'm going to do is, just as I end this show, I'm going to show you the cute Oscar. Look at that. Oscar's having a sleep. Let's just put Oscar in there. He's having a nice... What do cats dream of? We got any clue? Do cats dream? I think cats do dream, but I don't know what of. I'm sure Oscar is dreaming of watching a nice movie, maybe the Aristocats or something like that. But I'm hoping he's having nice dreams anyway. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will chat to you on the next one.